I'm tucking down out of the wind. It is cold and it is windy today. So hopefully, I'm really gonna tuck in here. I'm out of the wind enough to do what I wanna do today with the microphone. It's really windy. Yeah, I'm just gonna go for it. It's how it is. Anyways, I'm out for my strength day. You hear me use that word, strength running? Well, today's my strength running day. And yesterday was 8 degrees out in the morning. This morning was 12 degrees out this morning. And it's about 20 degrees now. And it's one of those days where if the sun's out of the clouds, you feel like you overdressed. And as soon as they go behind the clouds, you're really chilly. It's kind of a little bit chillier than normal for April. But anyways, like I said, I'm out for my strength running day, and I think what we're gonna do today is add some more drills, and I think I want to parlay the importance of drills. I think, and I'm not generalize here, not everybody, but I would say a lot of runners maybe misunderstand the purpose of drills or underestimate the importance of drills. And what I mean by that is that we need to see drills as a form of strength training and just as important as our run that day. And if we're into building our strength and appropriate strength and developing better elastic energy, better recoil in our muscle, better reactivity time when we strike the ground, better leg stiffness, everything that goes into becoming a faster, stronger runner. But as you know, everything I talk about, there's always a performance side, but there's always a longevity and health side. And drills are super important for longevity, health, becoming just a better runner, feeling better, running better, regardless of what your purpose is. So I want to start this video by just saying how important drills are and how super potent they can be for strength training, that we don't have to spend a lot of time in the gym, nor really should we need to. So I'm out for my warm-up, and I'm gonna find a place to do my drills, and then I'm doing hill repeats today for my strength training day. And I'm gonna try to find a spot that's not very windy, but what we're gonna work on today is eccentric and, more importantly, isometric training. So the kind of the theme of the day, isometric training for your isolation. Okay, this is something I had a question on a few videos ago about, kind of a routine that we can do at home during our isolation. Well, this is one of those, and something that you can do out in the yard, on the driveway. If you're able to get out and run, something that you can do like I'm doing today as part of my workout. And again, I'm treating these drills as strength training and just as important as my run portion. Okay, so I think that's really what I want to drive home today, is that we want to change our mindset of what drills are for. They're not part of a warm-up. They're not necessarily a dynamic stretch or dynamic warm-up as you might read or hear about, even though they're achieving that purpose. The purpose of my philosophy with drills is strength training. So again, we're going to talk about, I always talk about how important cadence is, and I've had more questions on that, but let's talk about why isometric training is so important. We hear about every time we land, we want that reaction time to be as quick as possible from when we land and when we take off. And that's what we're training with these drills today, that moment in time, or that isometric hold between landing and taking off. And if that moment in time is a long moment in time, you're allowing more dysfunction to take place. You're landing and the knee is flexing and you're spending more time on the ground before you take off. And a simple way to think about it is we want to reduce the amount of time we spend on the ground. We want to land and get off of it. And so that's what we're going to train today. And this isometric portion is, again, a time when there's no movement. It's that you land, and it's that moment in time before you take off again. And that's a crucial piece that, again, is not very talked about, that is fun to train, and we all can train it, and it's very potent. So that's what we're gonna really deal with today. So we're training to minimize the amount of time we spend on each leg as we run. Gonna eliminate a lot of dysfunction. The more time we spend on each leg before we take off, the more opportunity for dysfunction to take place. The more opportunity for poor stability to take over. Okay, so that's what we're really gonna deal with today, and dive into that with my drills. So I'm gonna go find a place to do my drills, and we'll carry on from there. See the storm coming in? We're supposed to get snow tonight in the next few days. That's why I wanted to get this video in. But not the best conditions, but at least I'm on dirt. All right, the day turned very gray. I got my drills in. I got my hills in. And I think I'm gonna go home and do some voiceover for these videos. This is important enough where I really want to be able to explain it without dealing with the wind and the conditions. Hopefully they're bright enough to come out, but I'm gonna head home and do that. But first I want to talk about shoes. I've got my S-Lab Sense 6 on. They're my old trail shoes that I use on the road now. And for a workout like this, I picked this shoe because it's very responsive, very low to the ground. I can really feel my feet and elasticity in my feet and my legs. So for a workout like this, when we're dealing with creating more leg stiffness, elasticity, isometric training, eccentric training, everything we talked about, it's really important to have a really responsive shoe that's not real built up with a lot of cushion. We don't want to do stability and strength training on cushion. So if you're doing some of your balancing drills, you see a lot of people do balancing on cushions. We want hard surfaces. So for this purpose of this drill and this purpose of the workout, I pick a shoe that is really stiff. I shouldn't say stiff, really low to the ground, really responsive, allows me to really feel the ground, so I'm getting the purpose of the training. Okay, so pick a really kind of a minimal shoe for this so you can feel the ground and achieve what you want to achieve, and not use a real cushion shoe. That's kind of the point of this long-winded way of saying don't use a real cushion shoe for this, because it's just going to absorb, and you're basically just training yourself to spend more time on the ground, which is the opposite of what we want to do for a workout like this. And kind of we'll get into why real heavily cushioned shoes could be detrimental in another video. So all right, so this is part 1 of 2 that's going to dive into everything we're talking about. This is the drill portion. Next time, part 2 will be on specific strength training exercises we can do at home, i.e. foot strength and very unique forms of lunging that I feel is more appropriate than the typical lunge. Okay, so we'll dive into that later. So I'm gonna head home on the trail and get that voiceover done for you. Thanks for watching as always, and hope you guys are all healthy. See ya. Okay, this first one's simple but complex. Simply running in place fairly fast with knees out in front of you and then pausing on one leg. Here we go, slow motion. So the idea, nice quick feet, and then pause and hold and try to stick your balance. The key is to try to hold your balance without letting your body fall out of balance. So you'll know as you get better through time, make it nice and fast and stick it. Nice and fast, stick it without losing your balance. That pause is important. Really stick it without losing your balance. And again, get faster and faster through time, and that's how you know you're going to get better. This next one, we're just simply hopping or jumping forward with a little bit of height so we can have a little bit of a landing as well. So you want to go hop forward or jump forward with some height. The key here is we're not squatting. We're keeping our legs as stiff as possible and making them as quick as possible. Land and transition to jumping forward as quickly as you can. Use your arms like I am. This is a great core workout as well, but the key is we're not squatting. Notice how there's hardly any flex in my legs. We want kind of a natural run range of motion with our legs. And that's the problem with a lot of squatting exercises, that they don't mimic running. So again, here's slow motion. Notice how my legs stay relatively straight and there's just a slight bend at the knee as I hop or jump forward. We'll talk more about that in a little bit, but that's key with all of these. We want to make them as quick as possible. Quick, get off the ground. That's what we're training. So that's where a little height comes in, where you're landing from the height, creating that eccentric work, and hopping forward. So again, we don't want a full squat. This is not a squat jump or a squat range of motion. Very short, very quick. As quick as you can. Get better through time. And here comes fast motion again. So kind of get some momentum. You can notice how I kind of get better as I go. It takes a little bit of momentum to get going. But again, a great core. Use your arms. They're important with running. They help you get momentum. Great core workout as well. One more time, just nice and quick. Hardly any bend in the knee. Okay, this next one is just a variation off the last one. We're still doing that hop or jump forward, both legs, but we're adding a little bit of a pause. Right there's that isometric hold that we talked about. And that's why this exercise is really good, because we want to get a little bit of a pause before we jump forward. Here's slow motion, so I jump forward, land, and pause, stick it. The key is to be as rigid as you can. Be really stiff with your legs. Stick it. Just like a gymnast, stick it without any movement. Try not to land and get movement down in bending the legs into more of a squat. So stick it and be as sturdy as you can. Be as stiff as you can. It creates a better rubber band. Stick it. Stick it. No movement. No movement right there. Again, and going fast forward again. A little bit of a pause. Just a pause. Minimize any type of movement as you can. Okay, here are soldier marches. Hard to say. But what the key here is we want them as quick as possible, as powerful as possible, but with a stiff leg. Okay? So I'm keeping my legs straight, and I'm keeping the legs as stiff as possible so I can make my transition to the next step as quick as possible. Stiffness in the leg creates better speed, better power, more force, all the good stuff that we want to help us become better, faster, stronger, running well. I want you to realize how well you feel after doing a workout like this. Notice how all the little kinks maybe have been taken away, all the little aches and pains. So again, notice a nice stiff leg, nice and straight, sequencing my arms. And again, the key is we're trying to make the transition from landing to taking off as quick as possible. That's the isometric training that we're doing right now. Slap the ground and be as stiff as possible. Sequence those arms. Here's one more going fast again. Get nice and quick. One thing that'll help you to keep able to get your legs quicker, think about moving your arms quicker. Your arms mirror your legs. And if you move your arms quicker, your legs will probably follow. Here we're in kind of a split squat position. And I'm jumping up and landing on the opposite side. Again, notice now with this one I'm pausing. I'm jumping up, pause, and kind of sticking my balance. Okay, and again, we're not looking to get tons of range of motion here. Nice and controlled, maintain your balance. Here's slow motion. So up to the other side, I pause. That's that isometric training that we're getting. Okay, pause enough to have to force yourself to balance, and just like a 1, 2, 3 count, and then back to the other side. Up and over, stick it. Again, just like a dancer or gymnast. Here we go again. I'm sticking it, nice and controlled. We don't want to make this a circuit where we're not getting a lot of rest in between each exercise. Get enough rest after each one of these drills so you're able to perform. Doing circuits for time is just not the way to go. We want to be able to perform. Okay, same position, but now we're scissoring back and forth with no pause. And again, nice rigid leg, very stiff with the leg, and I'm trying to move as fast as I can back and forth, reducing my contact time. So again, you can see there's not a whole lot of range of motion with each front leg. Okay, we're not going down into a lunge position, which we'll show in a minute. Okay, I'm just making them nice and quick, making that transition from one leg to the other as quick as possible. That's what we're training. Again, we're training ground contact time. We don't want to spend a lot of time on the ground. So make them as quick as you can. Here's what we don't want. Okay, we don't want this big range of motion. See the difference there? This is kind of a normal split squat or a lunge type of thing. We don't want that huge range of motion into the deep squat. Okay, that's not running functional. We never get that much range of motion when we're running. And that just adds to your ground contact time, which we're wanting to avoid. So that's why we want them nice and quick, not a lot of flexion. Now we're just taking the scissors motion, same thing as before, and just moving forward. Making it nice and quick, sequencing my arms, that's important. And just kind of moving forward as you're scissoring the legs back and forth. So nice quick feet. Again, with the slow motion, you can see how I'm keeping my legs nice and stiff with not a ton of range of motion. Okay, that's where we are when we're running, right there. That's the part that we need to train to become stronger, quicker, reducing our ground contact time, increasing our cadence, increasing our strength, increasing our speed. It all goes into the package of how we want to be as runners. One more, nice and quick. Again, you don't want to go so quick that you're throwing yourself off balance. Through mastery, just get better through time. You're not going to be good at this right from the beginning. Okay, now we're progressing to one leg. You can see how all this is a kind of a progression. Now I'm just balancing on one leg, same range of motion. I'm hopping up and sticking it. Stick it, down, hop up, stick it. Stick it. Again, notice I'm trying to stick it with not any movement while I'm holding that pause. That's the key. Hold it and stick it. Here's slow motion, boom, stick it, no movement. You don't want to get an up and down movement. As you stick it, right there, there's hardly any movement there. We want to make that right there, no deeper. Jump up and stick it. Jump up and stick it. The key is to get better through time so you don't throw yourself off balance. The balance here is the key. To be able to stick that leg without throwing yourself off balance and being stable is the holy grail for running. Because right now, all I am is running right now. This is what we're asking our body to do as we run, to stick it. Okay? And we're just holding it now to really train that ground contact time. And now we're just simply progressing to we're hopping forward with the stick. So again, I want to stick it in that same range of motion with that leg. Land and stick. Land it, kind of hold it as long as you can to be able to know you have your balance. I'm sticking it, knowing I have my balance before I take off again. Stick it, get my balance. There I know I have my balance. Get through better through time. Again, take off, land, hardly any movement. Again, try to minimize any movement. That's why it's important to stick it long enough so you know you have your balance. And take off. And this is where the shoes come in. You know, I challenge you, put some really cushioned shoes on and try to do this, and notice how more difficult it is in a bad way. Sometimes creating more challenge is good, but not with the cushioned shoes here, because now you're just going to absorb all that energy through the cushion of the shoe and the outsole and the midsole of the shoe. So feeling the ground there and being stiff, feeling your balance is really important. Sticking it, take off, stick. Good. And again, through time, you just want to minimize how much movement is while you're sticking that and holding that movement or holding that pause. And now I'm kind of going into more of a bound, but I still want to stick it. Okay, so I'm leaping from one leg to the next, sticking and holding it for that pause. Hold it, hold it, hold it. Again, we want this controlled and not so powerful so we can land, stick it, and hold our balance for that moment in time. Okay, so this is not a real super powerful movement. It's all about performing and maintaining your balance and stability. Again, just leap from one leg to the next. Again, I'm not getting super big range of motion so I can maintain my control and perform these. Just a nice little pause to know you got your balance, and on to the next leg. Just get into a groove. And now progressing, eliminating the pause and a little bit more of a bound. Again, not super powerful because we want to make the transition now quick. When there's no pause, we want to make it as quick as possible. So I'm not looking necessarily to get a ton of range of motion as far as distance per stride. I'm looking to make my transition quick. And I'm actually jumping a little bit high to create more of an eccentric landing, to create more training with that eccentric part of the phase. So I'm jumping up a little bit, landing, and having to transfer over to the other leg. And that's what I want, is I want just a little bit of height rather than distance. Again, back to normal speed. Again, you can just kind of, from a bounding standpoint, they just look a little bit more controlled than a real powerful bound. They have their purpose. We'll get into that maybe over the summer, but this is a little bit more controlled. Again, notice I'm sequencing my arms. Super important to start training the brain to sequence arms and legs. Keeping my foot strike underneath me. Again, I'm not reaching with my foot to strike the ground. It's right underneath me. Finally, we're adding accelerations. These are very short, fast sprints. Forcing, the key here is that it's a short distance, so you're forced to really get up to speed very quickly, making, again, training that transfer from one leg to the next, the landing and a quick turnover. So it's not necessarily a sprint, but like an acceleration over a very short period of time, or a short distance, I should say. You can see this distance isn't very far. I'm just trying to build my speed to really quicken my transfer from one leg to the other. So that's why I call them accelerations. You're just kind of building your speed through 5, 6, 7 steps. Trying to get up to speed, making that transition from, again, one leg to the next as quick as possible. One more fast one, and then we'll get into noticing range of motion as I'm running versus our drills. So notice right here, that's my range of motion. That's the greatest range of motion I get while I'm running. And that mimics all our drills versus doing deep squats. Okay? All these drills are very functional because we're not getting that great range of motion as we run.